Hi, Marcos. Doesn't look like a Marcos, so. Is that Marcos? I can't see.
Well, happy Thursday, everybody. Thursdays with Broker Bob is back. Sorry for the long hiatus. As you all know, I've been recovering from a small little surgery, which hasn't really allowed me to actually sit for longer than 30 minutes. So I've been operating out of a recliner for the past probably about 8 weeks. Anyway, everything's good now, on the mend. Glad you guys are showing up. I'm really excited about today's guest. I've known this lady a couple years now when she came to us, and I'd like to welcome Teri Barton to the show. I don't want to say show, but it is a show. So welcome, Teri. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you? I didn't know about the surgery. I'm glad you're on the mend.
Getting there. It's going to be a long journey with the leg. So why don't you just tell us who you are, how long you've been in the business, what you focus on, and what you love about real estate.
Great. Well, I am 20 years in January. I'm in real estate. I'm up here in Pasadena. What I love about real estate is being of service and the people I meet. And, you know, you can make a huge impact. And then it's just been a very fulfilling career. Sort of like when I got into it later, like 43, now I'm telling my age. And then it was sort of like, you know, how you're always wondering what you're going to do when you grow up. When I started doing real estate, I was like, I'm here. Like it was the right fit for me because it was giving me the opportunity to work for myself, but also make an impact in the community and lives. So that makes me excited.
So where do you live now?
I live in Pasadena. So I'm up north. Yes.
So explain that. You like live in Pasadena and we're located in San Diego.
I know that it's because you guys are so special. I don't want to leave. It's all about culture and finding the right fit. So, you know, I have great relationships. Keller Williams, I started in 2006. So I have been with Keller Williams longer than any other brokerage. And I just find the culture is important. Community is important. Yeah.
You did make a little detour for a little bit, but you came back.
I did. I made a detour for 18 months and then came back.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, glad to have you back.
Thank you.
So we kind of framed the show to help agents that are maybe new in the business or haven't been in, they're not as seasoned as you and I are. Teri and I just found out we've been in the business exactly the same amount of time, 20 years. What was your first year like when you got in the business? Were you full-time, part-time? Did you have immediate success? What happened?
So I started part-time. I started real estate. I was at a baseball game with my boyfriend and he said, I want you to sell my house. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And I wasn't a realtor at that time. So then I thought, okay, I'll go get my real estate license. So I did. So he was my first listing. And then I started with a like a one office brokerage, mom and pop brokerage. And I worked part-time as a realtor. And then, and I still kept my job because I was a single mom and I was transitioning. So, but the beautiful thing about that was across the street was the board, the real estate board. So every month I went and took classes. So I got my many designations because you don't know what you don't know. And I was very enthusiastic my first year and I wanted to know everything. So I worked at open houses. That was my bread and butter. Every week I was at open houses. I would go to school and learn about, like I've got a senior real estate specialist. I was GRI, CRS, like all that. But it was just really helpful to be around experienced agents because unlike Keller Williams, where you have so much information, that was a company that nobody was in the office. And so I needed to understand what I was doing. Mm-hmm. So my enthusiasm is what got me through the first year in open houses, I would say.
Open houses. I like hearing that. So when did you have your first transaction pop?
I started, March. So it took me a little bit to get, because at that time I listed the house, we sold that house, but then the open houses, it's just the time over task, right? I mean, you just keep on doing it over and over. And then I was very tenacious with buyers. Like I was all about staying in touch. and making sure I followed through and seeing it to the end. And I did a lot of things I'm not doing anymore, in the sense of I wanted to make sure we closed, that we got a house, but not all buyers are the right buyers for you. You know what I mean? You have to realize when people are serious or not. Now with technology, I mean, that was 2000. When was that? That was 2003. So we didn't have social media. We didn't have Facebook. Like, there was a different market then.
We barely had cell phones. We're just starting with them.
So it was mostly people, right? Talking to people. I advertised with my son's baseball team and just, did PTA stuff and just made myself known. So that was kind of how I started. So
you said you're not doing things you used to do back then. What are some of those things that you realize, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore?
Well, the biggest thing I think I learned along the way, and it's funny, Dave Norberg is the one that it finally clicked, is as a professional, they have hours. Attorneys have hours, accountants have hours. We all have, all professionals have hours, and we have to respect ourselves to create hours of real estate. And that we can't be, we can, but it's not to our advantage. It creeps up on us if we choose to be open 24/7, because people will take advantage of that. And so learning how to set boundaries with your clients, and not feeling like you have to have every they're not going, if you don't answer the phone right then, they're not going to call you back. But it's sort of communicating about your value, and people will respect your time if you respect your time. That's how I feel. And having a family, my son really made it known to me how I was lacking in being home, because I was working all the time. And so I felt like, and again, this was all through training with KW and just listening. It's sort of like incorporating accountability with the family, saying, hey, because I always thought I'm doing it for them. I'm working really hard for them, but they didn't feel it because I was never there. So it was saying, okay, mommy needs to do this, encourage her, how you doing? Keep me accountable. And so that way we have a sale and we all celebrate. So it was sort of making it more of inclusive, so that it wasn't just me trying to learn something new. And the other thing that I would do now that I didn't do then, and being a mentor and teaching other agents, and it just always amazes me. I had one agent that I loved dearly, and she worked full-time and did this part-time. So we would do her weekly schedule, and she would give me all her numbers and schedule, but she never put her 40-hour-a-week job on the schedule. So in her mind, that wasn't part of her week for me, but it is part of her energy and week and everything. So it's really being honest with your time and what you're investing, because it takes time to get a return in real estate. It's not like a quick, easy job. It's something that you have to create systems and really get involved. Even if you're starting part-time, you have to start committed to that time,
You say the word systems.
Yes, systems.
I mean, that's important.
Yes, well, consistency is important, and follow through is important. The Think and Grow Rich, like any kind of science, right? They have systems. It's like the law of gravity is you can't get away from it. So in lead generation and all the systems, if you don't consistently connect with people, they're going to go away. They're going to forget that you even do what you're doing, and so finding a way to collaborate your database. I think that was the other part. You always want to know, there's so much information of what's the best. Is it top producer? Is it Brivity? Is it Command? Is it whatever? And so people don't do anything because you're waiting to find the right one. But it's like starting with where you are and using something like Gary goes back to the, cards, whatever it is now. I mean, I think an Excel sheet I like the Excel sheet because you can download all your Google contacts. You can, onto an Excel, you can do your Gmail, your phone, and then you can start organizing that and then upload it into Command or whatever works best. But it's first getting all your people in a place so that you can start collecting their information and start talking to them, because we all have people in our lives that we can start with where we are, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we
We
don't
do.
have, and also whatever you're doing before real estate, if you're not coming out of high school and you've had a job before you start real estate, you have a lot of skills. And it's not like you have to start all over. I mean, you're learning a new, skill in real estate, but yeah, bring who you are to it. Don't try to think that you have to be all of this. You have to look at who you are and what you find important. That goes back to how do you lead generate? Who do you call, right? It's like, who are your people? Like, what interests you? Who are the people that you have spent the most time with in your life? Start with them.
Starts with your value proposition based upon what you bring to the table. What's your value proposition when you work with people?
Honesty, integrity. Like I do that. I go above and beyond. And it's really about the making sure that the client, it's a good question and I don't have it as I should written down, but I mean, my whole career has been on, being above and doing it a little bit more. You don't really think about that you're going above board until you work with agents that don't. And then you realize your value, how much you offer your clients. It's just a standard that I maintain to make sure that it's a win-win and that we're communicating. Communicating is really important to me with my clients, with the other agents. If I'm a listing agent, making sure I'm talking to all the other agents, like if they're writing offers, so that we're all communicating. I think that's a really big key in all of our clients.
Well, you had no problem. I mean, you immediately knew it was honesty, integrity. That's your value prop.
Mm-hmm.
Might not be an eloquent sentence, but that's really kind of what you surmise there.
Well, I used to say I'm a Bostonian, so I tell it like it is. So, over time, I've gotten a little better at not like being so in people's faces and more of listening. So, like listening first and then telling it like it is. But yeah.
So let's go back to that first year. What was some of your biggest successes, and then what were some of the failures you learned and grew from?
So some of the biggest successes for my first year, again, open houses were very, it was a great way to meet people. It was a great way to fail forward, right? I mean, like getting contacts, sending out postcards to the neighborhood, like deciding what I wanted to do to lead generate, it was advertising in, like I said, it was, for me, I was a mom with fourth graders. So I was involved at school a lot. So I made sure people knew I was a realtor at school. So I would set up, so that was my way of lead generating. That was one of the ways. And then the other way was in my education, I met more experienced agents and I started my agent to agent referral group. And my first year, I went to NAR's convention and I was sitting in there with thousands of people. And I thought, why would anyone use me when I'm with this one company, like in the whole world? Like I wasn't a Coldwell banker, I was not. And that's when I realized I had to figure out what my unique value prop is, who I was and what I wanted to bring to the table. So that to me was really powerful, in that not comparing yourself to all these other whatever, and the failure, I think, is wanting to learn so much and doing. It's like you have to do what you're learning while you're learning it, not just keep learning. You can't just keep learning. You have to apply what you're learning and then learn something else. I think that's been my one of my big things I've learned.
That's the trap that some people can get into, is there, because we have so much training education. They'll get caught in the training education loop, but not do the application of it.
It's afraid to talk to people. Like the whole thing of it is, again, it's sort of like anything when you're starting something new. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to do the wrong thing. And you just get in there with a enthusiasm and just do your best. And that's all. And then ask a lot of questions. I mean, luckily have a mentor that you can just keep asking questions. And that's what's really important. Don't think you have to know everything.
Yeah. As long as you and I have been in the business the same amount of time, there's stuff I learn every day.
Right. Exactly.
Especially from the broker standpoint on a transaction issue. I'm like, oh, I've never come across that.
Mm-hmm.
But and you bring up a point. It's like you might not know everything, but you need to know where to go get help when you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. And surround yourself with good support. Putting yourself in an environment that is supportive and encouraging, because some places are very competitive or very. I was in a very open office because it was maybe 6 people. It was hardly, and everyone had their personalities and they were pretty much doing their own thing. But we all work together, which is kind of why I like your office. The office we're in. It's just it's collaboration. It's helping each other, and I think that's really important, to feel like we're not competing against each other, but we're working together to succeed.
I call it co-opetition, cooperation, competition.
Mm-hmm.
Friendly co-opetition.
Yeah.
So anything else your first year that you would say, hey, this is what I learned and this will give you a little shortcut? So
I started 6 months part-time and then I went full-time. So it only took me 6 months because I saw that it was something that was, I went from making $18,500 a year at where I was working to $75,000 my first year part-time. You know what I mean? My part with I don't know how many sales, but it wasn't like a lot, but it was just a reality of I need to go all in. Like I have to trust myself to go all in. And the failures, I would say, is not having established my database as from the beginning so strongly. That is so important because you're always recreating instead of just adding to. And when you have a system that is just in the flow, like one thing, anyway, it's probably another question. It just adds momentum. That's the biggest thing. When you're lead generating and you're doing something consistently, momentum starts. And so you start seeing the results. So all those buyers from my open houses became sellers, right? So yes. I just kept in contact and then became a listing agent instead of buyer's agent. But I wasn't really focused on listings in the first year. I was just focused on just being in front of people, just trying to get exposure, and meet people.
Yep. I interview a lot of top agents and I always ask the one question, what is it that you wish you would have done early on in your career? And they always say, I wish I would have kept better track of my database.
Yeah.
Or created a database rather than you and I back at the yellow sticky note days where we'd write people's names down on a sticky note and then hang it and lose it. I
still have my lists. I have lists everywhere. I still carry them around. I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if you just go through that list? I know that like Diana's husband, Tony DeSella, tells his, like when he was coaching, it's like, just get all those pieces of paper and start calling people because you never know. Like, you haven't talked to them in years, but just call them. So yeah, I agree with that for sure.
And now is a better time than ever because there's so much talk about real estate in the media that, oh, the sky's falling.
Right.
The sky's not falling. It's just going through a little modification that it needs to. And it was well time to do it.
And I think like in your enthusiasm, when you become an agent for the first year, it's like, don't oversell yourself as a realtor to everybody just be the resource people want to go to get information. Like, I think it's good to have an announcement and let people know and put them on some kind of drip or system or whatever it is, Popeyes. But, like, in their face, do you have anybody to sell? I mean, that's my take, is like, people build longer relationships with you if you're just being their resource and getting the information, providing that information. That's my thing. I guess that could be the secret agent backdoor syndrome, but I feel like it's like an attorney. It's like a salesman. I mean, it's the person that just keeps putting that in your face. I'm selling that, people might not be ready to buy, but you want to develop relationships, I think, and you want people to trust you so that when they're ready to buy, or if they know somebody, this is another big thing that I think is important. Make sure your family, wherever you're from, knows you're a realtor, and start building relationships with people in the cities that your family lives, because if they move, then you have resources to refer to. So I think that's my biggest of my career is agent to agent referrals.
Give us your journey into, you say, building a relationship with people. What does that look like? What are you doing? Is there a step?
Yes. So for me, again, through the years, it was figuring out what my people were going to be looking like, right? Because doing bold 100s where you want to call 100 people in a day. Who am I going to call, right? Or you set up a schedule on Sunday, like who's your lead gen this week? And I am ADHD all the way. So calling 100 of the same people or doing the dial, that's not my thing. That's just not. So I broke up my groups. So I'd have like sphere, I'd have agents, I would have different topics of people, and then I would break it up to 25 or 10. And then I would call different people different times of the week. So then it felt like I was building resources. So it depends on what you want to do. At one time in my career, I farmed. When the market was at like the crash, I decided I'm walking door to door, 110 houses once a month. Not a big, farm, but it was consistent. I brought them market updates, and I wanted to be their neighborhood realtor. That's what I did for some time. And then I thought, okay, that I didn't, then I thought, I got listings and I developed relationships, but then in the long run, that wasn't who I was, because I'm more of a global minded, like I'm more of movement. So what I've done over the years is I have made sure I've networked, create networks. Lisa Archer was so great when she teaches about like the 15 minutes every day, you like, comment, connect with people on social media. Just 15, it doesn't even have to take 15 minutes, but every day you make a point of connecting with at least 25 people and making comments so that you're keeping consistent with all your social people, right? And then for me, I created networks, and I made points of local real estate networking groups to global. So it just, to me, that's where you build relationships, and then you get your referral business because they know you're that person in that area. And then you're building great relationships so that when people are moving, then you know where to send them. So that was kind of that's been my biggest thing I've done over the years. And then the other part of it is groups. So if you have a passion, or you live in a neighborhood that's like whatever it's called, like it's a neighborhood that has a significant group, create a group, be a community resource, right? And then you're like the person that everyone goes to in that. I know, but again, for me, it's been agent to agent referrals. It's been my thing.
Yeah. Good. Sounds like another opportunity. A lot of people don't realize the power of agent to agent referral. I have one agent in our office that I probably sign at least 3 to 4 referrals a week.
Yeah.
And they're that active with agents across the country. So
yeah, it's not something that's easy. Like it's consistent, but you have to, but the biggest thing about that, you can't just get the referral. You have to do the work. You have to be a good referral agent, you know what I mean? And follow through with the referrals and communicate with the person who sent you the referral, because they want to.
And I know there's a lot of Facebook referral groups that are open on there too.
But you have to interview the agents.
Yeah. That's totally. You have
to, I get a lot, my name gets put on a lot, but it's always like, I'd like to be interviewed as one of your agents, but because not all fit your client, right?
So if you've been here the same amount as I have, then you were here for 2006, 7, 8. And then, that time is similar to this time, but not exactly alike. So is there anything from that time that you're adapting today in today's market with what the market's doing?
So I'm really strong. I really, that time was very significant for me because I remember sitting, doing my lead gen, and that's when I was door knocking, and it was and I was listening to how the doom and gloom of how agents were not, their businesses were like, and I was having great success during that time. And it wasn't, and the only thing I contribute that to is you stay active, you just stay in it. You don't, all that minutia, all that like up and down, you stay resourceful. I got, at that time I got certified with short sales and in foreclosures. And so I learned about that and I helped clients, unfortunately, when they were doing short sales and stuff, but it was the consistent lead generation that got me through because I didn't focus on all of that, like where the market was up and down as much as I focused on the activities, consistently doing the activities. And so I'm not saying it, I mean, look at COVID when it put us on stop, right? But still we, agents had their best years because they kept consistent because people are always moving, circumstances change, good, bad, and different. I mean, and we're in an environment where it's very, especially San Diego with the military, with so much change that you just have to stay doing, in your lane, doing your thing, and don't get overwhelmed with the news, in my opinion. But
people will always sell no matter what the market is doing because of the life changes, the move up, move down, job relocation, death, divorce. Those will always stay, and people will always do something during those, no matter what the market's doing.
But it's like, what is it? The results or like, what is, like the Vole law? It's sort of like you
can have reasons or results. You can't have both.
Right. So, I mean, it's sort of like you got to stay active. I mean, that's the thing. Just you really have to get out of your head of doom and gloom and just, stay in a lane and just, again, if you're following systems and if you are developing something that works for you, just keep doing it. And sometimes you have to expand out. Like if they're, for sure, like look at the shortage of inventory, right? So if you're used to this area and there's nothing happening, you have to expand out. You have to figure ways to make your database bigger so that you can get the work. And I know my take, and I know there's so many ways to get more data on that, like through the title companies of what's the best neighborhoods that's selling and turning over and all of that. But, as a first year, if we're talking to first year people coming into the business, it's just stay in action and don't get overwhelmed with all the minutia. Just, I would say get more narrow-minded than because I'm a big thinker, which gets me in trouble because I'm messy in the middle. Like I'm a good starter and a good finisher, but the whole middle, it's like, weaving my way and I finally get there. But, if you can see the goal and really stay on track, which is through SMART goals, 411s, accountability, then you'll do well, I think.
I was called by an agent the other day that she's new with our office from a different part of the country. And she's like, what should I do? Because I'm having a little challenge meeting people. I said, well, here's what I would do. If I'm brand new, even if I'm brand new in the area and I know nobody, I would pick an area of 1,000 homes. That's going to be my geographic farm. And I'm going to do all the open house activity in that geographic farm, at least 3 to 4 days a week. And then I would door knock around all those houses in the morning before the open house or any time of the day. And then I would call all the expireds and I would call all the FSBOs in that geographic area. And I wouldn't do that. And I'd just do it for 6 months straight. And at the end of 6 months, you wake up and everything starts to pop.
Yeah, because you're familiar. You have a whole different, you're right. And you're in action, right? So I agree. I think that's good. And I do think, as much as Keller Williams offers so much, Bold and Ignite are really great classes to get, as long as you do the work and you apply what you're learning, they're good ways to, get a jump start.
Yeah, you have to do the work.
You have to do the work.
So if you were to advise a new agent about starting out, what would you recommend they do? You've already said be consistent, but
be true to
anything else you can think
themselves
of?
too. Like, I feel like people have to be true to who they are. And I love, because I've worked with my son. I've hired, I've asked a lot of questions. The red book, like the book. Have their mentor make sure they get good questions asked. I think when they start, if they get to know who they are and how they work, it's better for them to stop fighting against who they are. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to say that. It's sort of like we're all different, and we all got, yeah, we all need to lead generate. We all have to do this. We all have to do that. But stay true to who you are. If someone keeps telling you, do this, and that's not, I'm not saying don't do it because you don't want to do it, but you have to own what you do. You can't then say, oh, well, he told me to do that. It's not working. You have to own what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really important is stay true to who you are. My thing is having, I don't know, the red book is a must. I would say you have to read the red book. I don't know if the second one's come out, but that is your Bible of how to get your business started. And then get your lead generation, get everybody off your phone onto a spreadsheet and make sure you have phone numbers, emails, and addresses, and start calling the people letting them know you're doing real estate.
Yep.
That's what I would do.
It's not rocket science. It's just being consistent.
Yeah. And you have to start where you are. Just don't be afraid to talk to people, and don't be a silent agent. Like, what is that? The secret agent. Don't be a secret agent, right? Bold makes you be bold, sitting at Starbucks, all the things that people did along the way. There's so many things we've done along the way, handing out, buying coffee for 3 people. If you don't have any money when you start, you don't have to do anything but make phone calls, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you have to spend money. You have to talk to people though. You have to take action. You can't expect it just to show up and make $1 million.
And it doesn't cost money to talk to people unless you're paying your doctor or lawyer or something like that.
Right. Exactly.
There's plenty of people to talk to for free. So how do you structure your day then? What does it look like?
So my day starts with like I'm an early morning person. So I get up 4 or 5, and then meditation, quiet time, exercise. And then because I'm a New Englander by heart, I still like 5 a.m. is fantastic to start calling people on the East Coast. So when I'm in major lead gen mode, that's what I do. I start calling my East Coast, and then I work my way over so that by 11, I have a lot of lead gen done. And then I eat lunch early, and then I do appointments in the afternoon and make sure that I'm doing all my activities in the afternoon. That's kind of my day structure.
So it's that simple. You just systematize and lead generate in the morning.
Well, Gary, I used to have, again, you have all these things we used to do, right? Somebody took off their pants and got stuck in the office and they couldn't leave till 11 o'clock. We've had on our doors, the day doesn't start till 11:01. You have to create the structure, right? If you're not a morning person, do it at night. I'm a morning person. That's my best time. So that's when and do the hardest thing first. The things you don't want to do, get it over with. And then the other part of the day is not as hard, right? But you have to plan. I recommend you plan your week ahead. Sunday night, know what you're going to do. So in the morning, you're not figuring it out, because that wastes a lot of time.
Have your call list done the day before, so when you get to it, you just know who you're going to call.
Yeah, have a plan and have it written. I think I'm still old-fashioned. I have so many technical devices, and I still like to see things in writing. I just I'm that way. I do like the alarm. It helps. I have to put an alarm in to remember to eat sometimes, or drink water, or because sometimes you get so busy that you forget what you're doing. And that's the biggest thing, is stay healthy, take care of yourself, because you burn out if you just try to always, be on.
Mhm.
That was another thing I learned. That was a big decision. When I first became a realtor, I decided you have to be on. You have to be on. Like as a realtor, you're going to start being, people are going to see you, right? So you have to be ready to show up. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. So it's not rocket science. We overcomplicate things at times because we end up in all these classes. Oh, yeah, I need to learn this script or that script. Yeah, great, go learn it.
But the
don't
thing of
worry
it
about
is,
it.
you know so much already. That's the thing. Like whatever profession we came from, we have so many skills. And it's sort of like, how do you then apply it to real estate versus think you have to start all over and that you have to relearn everything. You don't have to relearn everything. You just have to learn certain systems. The database is your data bank. Make the database your priority so that you know who you're calling. You know how many times you've called them. Have you stopped by with a Popeye? I mean, Popeyes, okay, I'm just going to talk about Popeyes. I don't know if people.
Go ahead, explain what they are.
Popeyes are like you choose your 100 people. I did a talk on this. You choose your VIP list. It could be 25 people. It doesn't have to be 100 people. 25 people, a number, whatever the number is of people. And then each month you pop by. It could be the smallest things, but you just let them know. It could be a card. It could be a plant, it could be seasonal, whatever it is, but you're letting them know. And then you can ask them for referrals on the back. Say, I'm never too busy for your referrals. I know Buffini has his monthly thing, but that's how it got started, right? Through Buffini. And then those people, some people like Althea, right? She had her top 25 that she spoiled. So she had her top 25 people that she spoiled. And then in order to be in the group, they had to refer 3 people each year. So then she would connect with a lender or somebody in a commercial sense, like a affiliate, and they would have to refer 10 people in order to be in a group. So think about how many sales she got just from her top 25. It's all about what is that?
Referral reciprocal.
Yeah. But it's like, you just create that. I mean, Liz Johnson wrote a book on that, on the coffee. Like, it's whatever you want to create, just make it fun, that people want to be a part of something. And then they're more willing to also give you business because you're giving them, not giving them value, it's sort of, you're making it fun, but that might be a little advanced for first year. But I'm just saying database is key. That's where you start and then get creative. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So who Teri was talking about is Althea Osborne, one of Gary Keller's very first agents ever with the company. And she created a top 25, she called it referral reciprocal relationships. These were people that were of influence, like maybe they were a financial planner or CPA, and she would treat them to baseball games and dinner parties and stuff like that. And then the concept was that each one of them would send 3 referrals to her every year. She didn't have to go prospect for business. She was getting referrals coming in her way because that's how she developed her program. And because of that, she was able to get, if you have 25 people, they each give 75, three referrals each, 75 a year. You only close half of them, you've still done really well.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say, but you don't have to go extravagant like that. That's what I'm saying. It could just be, sending 25 people a card a month. That it could be so simple. It's not about the value of the item. It's about the consistency of connection with people that you want to make sure they know you think they're special. The other part is, if you're excited about what you're doing, let people know. Maybe they want to do it too. I just had one of my clients say, I think I might want to do real estate because this person's kicking butt, and so that's another whole thing in your first year. When you're excited about it and other people are talking to you about it, make sure you don't lose those opportunities to have them talk to your team leader to say, hey, because that's a whole other avenue of revenue that you can create just by doing what you love to do. So I think that's important.
Perfect. So what's your conversations now with your sphere of influence right now in today's market? What are you saying to them?
Well, right now, that's an interesting question. Okay, I have to, that was on the list. What I'm saying is not everything online is true. Because there's so many, like home swap, like there's so many programs now that they think because of the low inventory and that they can get things happening because of all these marketing companies and that are creating. The thing about our market now compared to when I started is we're competing with companies that don't even sell real estate, and the consumer doesn't know that. They don't understand that. So it's a lot of educating buyers on the truth, because the internet and the marketing makes things sound so easy, and that, oh, I can do it for 1% or whatever, and so it's really making sure you know your value and your product, like that, and that you are aware of what these other things are. So, I mean, to me, that's what I'm doing right now, because the internet is definitely affecting sellers and buyers, right, in the market. But I'm also making sure that they are knowing what their market is, keeping them abreast of, like it's at 7%. It was at 2-3%, like what, 2 months ago? I mean, like it's craziness, and just looking at the whole longevity. I guess for me now, I have like a step between the lack and abundance, in the sense of having to do everything for everybody, to being more educational about it and making sure I'm working with the right people, or that people know what they're getting into, because sometimes there's buyers that aren't, they're not ready. They're not ready to buy, and you could do everything in your power. Getting a buyer broker signed, really important for them to know how you work, really important, because at this point, a lot of buyers will work with many agents because they don't get it. So like things like that. I know that's kind of off what you said, but it's more educational right now. And then because most of my business right now is referral and repeat, that's kind of what I'm focusing on. So it's more of making sure they know where I am, because now people think I'm in San Diego because of how I was in San Diego. Now I'm back. Like it's me keeping in touch with my clients so they know where I am and what I'm doing. That's what's important.
What is real estate? One of the last questions I asked, what's real estate allowed you to do in your life?
I mean, I've worked for myself now, 20 years, and I've had like partners and teams and taught the value. I mean, I could cry. I think, like I've spent an hour with Mo Anderson. The people at Keller Williams enriched my life. It's been a good ride, and it's been a good. Real estate can make dreams come true.
Yes.
You just have to work, So I think whatever the dreams are, there's no limit to what can happen, as long as you're doing the work. Yeah. That's what I love about real estate.
The highest level of success is doing the things that you don't want to do when you don't want to do it.
Right. Because then it's the perpetual. It's the perpetual. I mean, it's like the slow engine, and then, right. And then but when you're going fast, the systems are even more important, because you don't want to lose sight of what has brought you to that point. So, if you're not that person, hiring someone to help you, but making sure that database is the key to your business, is the data bank, right? That's where it all comes from. And then, when you get to my side, you could maybe sell that or incorporate somebody else, so you have a business that keeps going.
All right. So recap is, when you get in the business, keep your database put together, do open houses consistently, and reach out to people that you've come in contact with, and stay in communication and provide value. Is that it?
Know who you are. Yes. Learn about, working on your unique value proposition. Yep.
Well, Teri, I appreciate your time today. I know how busy you are, and I'm glad I finally got you into the schedule.
Thank you.
And,
Thanks for
and
being persistent. It's nice to
yeah,
see your face.
love you to death. I hope everybody took something away from Teri today. And with that said, everybody have a great day. We'll be back next week with another special guest. See you all later.
Thank you. Bye.